Well, hey there, my friends. Welcome back to the show. My name is Deanna Yates, and you are listening to episode 217 of the Wannabe Clutter Free podcast. On today's episode, I am chatting with JoAnn Crohn of No Guilt Mom, all about how we can overcome our mom guilt and the guilt that comes along with decluttering, not just our own things, but helping our children declutter as well, so that we can live a better life and be more fulfilled as women, not only just as the people we are, but as the parent we want to be and as the partner we want to be to our spouse, significant other, or partner. So that's what we are here for today. And we are in for a treat. JoAnn does not hold back. She knows what she's doing. And the conversation's really interesting. I think you're going to like it. I'm in the hot seat a little bit. And it's a good one because I definitely have dealt with a lot of guilt as a people pleaser and a nurturer. We talk about that a lot too. So I think you're going to really enjoy today's show. But let's not waste any more time. I want to tell you about JoAnn. So let's dive right in. JoAnn Crohn is a parenting educator and certified life coach who helps moms become happier and more connected parents by prioritizing themselves. She's an accomplished writer, author, podcast host of the award-winning No Guilt Mom podcast. I was on her show recently, so make sure you check that out. And a speaker appearing in national media and the founder of the company No Guilt Mom. Her specialty is helping moms go from martyr to model, being the role model in their family versus sacrificing their own needs. Her coaching program, Balance, has helped hundreds of women find what lights them up, form a deeper relationship with their families, and release their own mental load. JoAnn is a mom to two kids, ages 15 and 10, now 11, as we'll learn in the podcast. And she's been married to her college sweetheart, Josh, for 17 years, and they live in Gilbert, Arizona. All right, give this episode a listen. And when you're done, head over to wannabeclutterfree.com/217 for the show notes for today's episode to learn more about JoAnn and get the links to all of her resources. And if you enjoy what you hear today, can you also leave the podcast a review? Give it a 5-star rating if you really enjoy it. All right, let's get to our conversation. Well, hey, JoAnn, welcome to Wannabe Clutter Free. How are you?
I am good. How are you?
I am great. Thank you so much for joining us today. This is going to be a very fun conversation. I'm excited to talk about guilt as moms and guilt with decluttering and how we can overcome that. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do?
Sure. So I run a company called No Guilt Mom, and our mission is to help moms go from being the martyrs of their family, giving up everything they want to do, to being the role models, like showing their kids exactly what it means to be an adult. And also, like adding on a little thing to that, but like showing our kids what it means to treat other people, including our kids and including their feelings and their emotions. So I started into this like it's my third career, which is crazy to think. I started in television in Los Angeles, did not like that, went into teaching, got my master's of education, loved it, loved working with kids. I felt like I was making a difference. But when my second kid came along, he was a July baby and I was a fifth grade teacher. And the fourth grade class coming up had a reputation as being an incredibly challenging group of students. And so, since my son was born in July, and I knew that I did not want that group of students to start with a substitute, nor did I want to go in 3 months in, totally sleep deprived with a newborn and now two kids instead of one. I took a year off. And in that year, I started No Guilt Mom because I was at home. I was with the baby. I felt like the whole world was closed off to me because I was home with kids. And so I made it my mission to go out to things in the Phoenix area and then write about it and say, here's what you could do when you have a baby. Here's what you can do as a mom. And that was 11 years ago. My son just turned 11 in July. It has transformed since then. It has been where I've seen like this need in moms in particular because they feel so lonely. And I think so many moms I talk to, there's this loneliness going around and there's this sadness and this tiredness and this feeling that we're doing everything wrong as parents, but we don't know where the disconnect is. And we're giving ourselves the shame and a hard time for that disconnect and for that failure. And my missions become to really help moms find out, okay, what's going on here? How can we overcome this guilt? And then how can we live these lives that make ourselves really, really happy and energized while also forming a great relationship with our kids? And so that's me, a no guilt mom in a nutshell.
Oh, I love that. I love how you said to not be the martyr of your family. And I'm going way back to what you started with, but
Yes.
not really just, obviously that is such an the idea, right? Because you do everything for your family. And I do the same, right? I'm willing to buy the nicer things for my daughter. I'm willing to do the nicer things oftentimes for the people in my family as a knee-jerk reaction, right? That's just, I'm a people pleaser, I'm a nurturer. That's my just go-to. So I have to remind myself that I am as important, and it's important for me to take care of myself in order to be able to take care of my family. The whole oxygen mask thing, right?
And you just feel awful like the entire time. You're riddled like with guilt. You have this feeling that you're ruining your kids because like they're telling you actually like I have had moments where I have gone on trips with friends and my kids are here crying to me about issues on the phone. Like I went to a trip to Italy, a cruise, a fantastic vacation. Like so lucky to take this. And I'm here and I'm sitting and I'm looking at the Mediterranean and my kids are on the phone being like, Dad is just not listening to me. And he always takes my brother's side of things. And Mom, if you were here, I just feel so like bad and sad. And like, why did you have to go? Like, you hear all this stuff from your kids and you feel like you feel miserable. So it goes into a lot more than just taking self
Okay.
care.
We got to talk about that, right? Okay. So let's pause for one quick break. And then when we come back, I want you to tell me, because I feel like that could ruin the entire vacation that you just took. So I want you to tell me how you did not let that derail what you were doing with your friends. All right, let's take a break. Okay, so we were just about to talk about you went on this beautiful cruise with your friends and you were having a mom trip and you were doing all the things that they tell you to do as a mom, take time for yourself, self-care. Your kids are laying it on thick.
Playing it on
I can
thick.
imagine that would just, gut wrenching, right? Heart wrenching. You feel so
Horrible.
bad. Okay, so how did you make sure it didn't derail your trip?
So that was actually the first trip I've ever taken away from my kids. And it just happened a few years ago. It was right after COVID. And them laying it on thick, it was hard, like really, really hard. And the only way I dealt with it is I was on with two of my best friends, Bree, who actually I work with, and Shayna. And I just talked to them about it and I shared it. And hearing them be like, oh, yeah, totally get how that feels, that helped me in the moment get through that situation. So many moms I've realized, though, don't feel like they can share those things with friends. There's this thing in motherhood that you're supposed to look like you're doing it all and it's all easy and you're loving life. And if for some reason you're not loving life, then you must be doing something wrong. Right. And so we don't share those things with people. Just this morning, actually, in my balance community, one of my clients was saying that she felt like she ruined her son by going on a girls' trip because she came back from her girls' trip and her son, who was taking the bus before, no problem, like he's second grade, was just clinging to her and refusing to let her go and refusing to let her out of his sight. And everything in our programming tells us that, oh my gosh, I did something wrong because here was this kid who was confident before, and then I left, and then they're not confident now. And if you're listening to that and you've gone through something similar, I just want you to stop and really give some self compassion to yourself. That is what gets me through the really hard emotions and the feelings as a mom. It comes from the work of Dr. Kristen Neff, and self compassion is just a 3-step process. And the first step is something that we deny ourselves so much. It's notice that you're in pain. Because when your kids are clinging on you and you're like, I did something wrong, you're in pain right then. You're suffering. It hurts. So that's the first thing. Notice you're in pain. The second part is common humanity, where you think about that any other mom in this situation would probably feel the same way that you do, and they would probably be reacting in the same manner. So if you're giving yourself shame, being like, why do I think this way? Why do I have so much guilt? Just know that most other moms would feel the exact same way. And then the third part is comfort yourself. Give yourself comfort. And for me, sometimes the comfort is just like a little stroke on my arm, just to be like, it's okay. You're okay. You're safe. I have a big, like, fuzzy, soft blanket on my bed that when I'm feeling bad or I feel like those feelings of guilt overwhelming me, I go and I wrap myself up and I read my little thriller novel where people are so much worse than me. So and that makes me feel better. Uh, so there's these little tricks you can have along the way too to help you deal with mom guilt, but just also know it comes so much deeper. It's so much deeper than what
Yeah.
we've been told is mom guilt.
Okay. So it's, yeah. And it makes sense. And as I'm listening to you tell that story, I'm thinking back to, I wish I would have, you've been doing this for as long as I've had a child, because our kids are about the same age, actually, as you said that. And I wish I would have been talking to you when our daughter was 18 months.
Mm.
She's always been very clingy to me. I've always been her person. I'm still her person, right? If she has anything that she needs to unload, it is always on me. I did have someone at one point tell me that she treats me differently than other people. I always used to be like, why is she so mean to me? She's so nice to everyone else. She's always so good for everyone else. But just with me, she just, bleh. Especially when she was little. And I'm
Mhm.
assuming it's going to happen again when she's a teenager, which is not too far away, sadly.
I have a 15-year-old as well, a
Okay.
15-year-old daughter, and my son is
Okay.
11, and both of them are like, I'm their person. They unload
Okay.
on me, both of them.
Yeah, and I was told it's because you're their safe space. You're where they feel the most comfortable. They can feel the most vulnerable with you. And they know at the end of the day, you're always going to be there for them, right? That feels
Um,
great. Absolutely. When you hear that part, but the unloading part really sucks.
It does. And I feel like that part is talked about a lot. The whole like, oh, you're their person, you're their safe space. You should feel so happy that you're their safe
Yeah.
space.
Isn't
But
it great?
isn't it great? You're like, no, it's not great. It
Oh,
feels like crap. Thank you so much. There's another part of that. And it comes with the acknowledging of your true feelings and emotions and then communicating those to your kids. Because
mm,
yes, your kids are unloading on you, but also you're a person too. You have your own needs and you have your own things. So we haven't been taught that, especially as girls, to express our own needs and to even acknowledge them. So just think back to like when you were a kid and when you were mad at something or unhappy. Can you remember what you were told during that time?
deal
Were
with
you
it.
told, deal with it, suck it up, buttercup? Like that's, or go to your room and come back out when you're happy again.
Yeah.
And that's how we were taught to deal with our feelings. We weren't taught how to communicate to people that we were unhappy in a way that was like actually got something done. And we learned over time that it was better if we just pushed those feelings down, if we started to suppress them. There is this awesome, I don't know if he's a psychiatrist, definitely a researcher, but his name is Dr. Gabor Mate. And he wrote a book called The Myth of Normal. And in that book, he discusses two human needs. One is attachment, which I'm sure you probably heard of a lot as a mom. You have this need to feel loved and be like lovable. And as a kid, you really look for the other adults in your life as to what you need to do to get that love. When we think as a kid, we're told, okay, don't be angry, be happy, like stuff it down, don't show anything. That is what we had to do to get our love and to be accepted. And so there's another need that comes into play too, and that's actually authenticity, which and authenticity means just knowing your own feelings and being able to act on them. Think about like in like a caveman on like the savannah. Like he needed to know that this situation was really scary and a tiger may like stalk out at any moment. Like authenticity kept him safe. And these two things are like competing against each other. One is our need for attraction, and one is like knowing what our body feels and what we need. So, fast forward into adulthood, we were told to push all of our anger down, and it's going against what we actually need in the moment. So, like you being unloaded on, you're in this situation where you hate it and it's causing you so much stress. But your child, like the child in you, is telling you, oh, you know what? I can't show them that I am having any of this stress or I'm angry at them whatsoever because then they won't love me. Think about it like that. You're like, oh my gosh, like I am doing that. I'm thinking if I tell my anger to people, they will leave me and they won't love me. and, and when you think about it that way, you're
Interesting.
like, no wonder we have these feelings of guilt and these feelings of if we disappoint our kids in any way, that they'll think we're a bad mom.
Well, and two, I feel if when I extrapolate out to her being an adult, I
Yeah.
want her to be able to deal with adversity. We've
Yeah.
said this in our home. Our child's life is pretty cush, right? She's got a pretty chill life here. She's an only child. She pretty much gets whatever she wants. She's a great kid. So we don't actually have to discipline her that much. She's got a pretty good life. She doesn't really have, it's not really hard. And yet, I don't think that's going to do her a great service when she is an adult and she gets smacked in the face with reality of life is not always easy. So, any ideas that I don't really actually know where I'm going with this or what question I'm asking.
I kind of know the
But
question.
I'm just, yeah, it's so I want to do my part to make her life easier, right? As a mom, I want her to have that good life. I want her to have that life. I don't want her to have adversity, but I do feel like in the long term, it's good for her to have some struggles that she has to overcome.
Mhm.
So, how do we then how have you shown, or clients you've worked with, learned to show that, hey, look, this is like, I get you need a sounding board. I want to be your person, but you
Uh,
also have to understand that I am a person. And it might be hard for me to hear some of these things, but I'm here for you. How do
mhm.
you start to communicate that? And where they're not like, oh, my mom doesn't want to listen to me. And then they just go to their friends, especially as teenagers. I don't want to lose her to that either.
So I think that like what you've hit on is really, really important because that's a big jump actually. Being told that, telling them that, okay, I can't handle it anymore right now. I am in my mood, to her leaving and saying, I don't want to talk to you anymore. But that's the jump that most of us go to. That's what we think. We think that if we share our own needs, people will leave us and not talk to us anymore. So the first thing is just when my kids vent to me, I need someone to vent to in return. So even I have my best friend that I will vent to and be like, oh my gosh, she unloaded so much on me. And it's Bree on the No Guilt Mom podcast with me. And Bree will be like, I totally get you. Yep, I've been there too. Just let it all out. My husband, I also vent to about the kids as well, even though he isn't the one the kids go to. I he's my venting, so he's informed on everything that is going on
Yeah.
with the kids, so he can act in relation to that when he's in their conversations with them. When I That's the first thing. I have to make sure I vent. I know exactly what is bothering me, where I'm coming from. And a lot of those venting sessions to my friends, I've been able to figure out that the reason I get so bothered by the venting sometimes is because I then feel it's all on me to fix it. And
Yes, you just hit the nail on the head.
yeah,
Yes.
and I get all
Okay.
this inner stress being like, "Oh my gosh, this is so my fault. I can't like I can't believe I'm such a bad mom that I've even let this happen. If I was a better mom, I would have seen this coming and been able to prevent it." And so figuring out I had that thought process was really helpful
Hmm.
for actually taking the venting sessions. For venting now, like when they're venting to me, my only job is to make sure I hear them, and that's
Mm.
it. I help and I summarize. If my daughter is venting about somebody said a mean thing to her, I'm the one being like, okay, so she said this mean thing to you in class and you're feeling a bit hurt about it. And sometimes she'll be like, yeah. And sometimes she'll be like, no, I don't care what she thinks. And it's helping her clarify her feelings and exactly how she wants to handle situations. And so if you go at it like that and you think my only job is to summarize, be the sounding, maybe help them name some feelings they're feeling and not
Mm.
suggesting solutions to those things. Sometimes all they need is clarity on exactly how they're feeling, and that helps them enough. And then they keep coming to you and coming to you because you help them think through stuff.
Oh, I love that. That
Mhm.
lets go of that layer so much too of like, if I don't have the right solution, I'm going to
Ugh.
mess this up even more.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That panic of, oh, did I say the right thing? Or if you're just, yes, you're just, I like that. Some to hear them and summarize and help them process what they're actually thinking. Because if you think about it, that's what you want in your venting session. You don't really
Yeah.
want someone to give you a solution. You're like, no, I want to figure it out myself.
Yeah.
Ah,
The
whew.
time when solutions happen too. Have you ever been in a conversation with someone and they will give you that advice for whatever you're feeling? And you're like, no, like you're thinking to yourself, no, that's not going to help solve my problem.
Mm,
Because like, that's not actually your problem in your gut. And then you get
mm.
mad at them and want to shut them down because they're really not listening to you at all.
They're coming at it through their lens, their trauma, their issues they've had, whatever. I'm
Exactly.
trying. I did not have a great junior high experience, and our daughter,
Yeah.
thank goodness, is still a year away from hers. And so I'm trying really hard in this next year to watch anything I ever say about junior high or going into that because I don't want her to look through her experience with my lens. I want her to have a fresh, shiny, clean lens that she gets to look at her experiences however they are for her, right?
Yeah. I had a horrible junior high as well. I went in from a very small school, like my sixth grade
Mm,
class had 10 people. And then I went
mm,
into a junior high with like seventh grade class of 200 people. And so it was a bit of a shock. And I went from having uniforms to free dress. So I felt like I didn't even know how to dress. I didn't know how to act. And nobody told me to wear deodorant regularly. It's like, or how important that was. And I'm here in Arizona, Deanna. Like, important. It's important. And one day in social studies, I remember I was sitting next to two guys, Matt and Dave, and I heard them and like lean over, lean their chair back and talk and be like, yeah, JoAnn smells. And I'm like, oh. And I ran to the little like portable bathroom between periods, and luckily I had deodorant in my bag and I
ooh,
put it on. Um, but that rumor went around all of
oh
seventh
no.
grade. I was in PE once talking with my one friend there, Jody, and a girl pulled her back and started whispering to her. And then Jody never talked to me again for seventh grade. I was alone. I had two
Oh,
friends all year. But it's okay because it turned me into who I am today. And I tell my daughter that experience. I tell
mm-hmm.
her exactly what happened. I tell my son exactly what happened. I used to tell my fifth graders when I was a teacher that story because I want them to have empathy for the people that they are singling out. And I also want them to be able to learn from my like experiences. So I think like sharing is such a good thing. And even though like you have your traumas from it, you have specific stories and reasons for your traumas that have really informed who you are today. And sharing those is not a bad thing. And it won't cloud her experience or say, like, all junior high is bad. In fact, if she's anything like my kids, they'll be like, Mom, you're not a teenager in 2024. You have no idea what you're talking about. Kids aren't like that anymore, Mom. Like,
No, they just go on social media and trash you instead. Oh
yeah.
God.
Yeah. It's hard, though. It's really hard.
Yeah. 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 All right, let's take one more quick break because I want to switch this around and start talking about decluttering and all the guilt that's going to come up there. So, whew, come on back. All right, so we were just about to make the switch to guilt and decluttering. And we were talking about, on our little break, you were talking about some stories you have and how so many women in your community are wanting to declutter. And I was saying, yeah, because the guilt that you have guilt with your things. And so you want to overcome the guilt, but you can't declutter the stuff because you feel guilty. So let's dive on into that little conundrum.
Yeah, so many of my clients, the people in my community, they pick decluttering as like their big goal. And I always encourage more than just decluttering. Like decluttering is like a process in like on the path to the big goal. But it's so interesting with decluttering because we have tons of stuff that we collected throughout our lives and feel bad about getting rid of it. And especially if we are at all neurodiverse. My family has a history of ADHD. My dad is diagnosed and my sister is diagnosed. And growing up, I couldn't get rid of a single thing. Like my dad would not let me throw anything away. And my dad has a lot of trouble giving up things as well. If like at his home office, like it's just stacks of things, like stacks of things everywhere. And he's not so much a hoarder. Like he knows like when it gets too much and he needs to get rid of some things. But when you have ADHD, my sister explained this to me, your memories are tied to your things. So you fear that when you get rid of something, you're also going to get rid of the memory associated with it. Like you're never going to be able to think about it again. And that is something that I have definitely seen in people when it comes to decluttering and guilt, knowing that, oh gosh, if I throw this away, like my kid's artwork or the Mother's Day card they gave me, somehow that'll mean that I don't remember that. I don't love my kid. I like all of these things tied to stuff. There's so many emotions.
Yeah. All right. So has your dad decluttered?
No.
Okay. I was going to ask, how did that turn out for him?
My mom is always like the push for him to declutter. Like she has to go in there and help him declutter and help him make the decisions of what to let go of and what to hold on to because he just attaches so much emotion to things.
Yeah.
I remember he had this one couch from college, and this is like core memory for me where he finally had to get rid of this couch because my sister's 7 years younger. And so my mom was pregnant. They needed the room. And so they put the couch outside, ready for Salvation Army to pick it up. And my dad's here just laying on the couch, trying to like soak in all the memories and everything about it. Like he was so hurt and sad with giving away an item. And so it's just so emotionally involved giving away stuff.
Okay. But he did give away the couch, obviously.
And still mentions it. Still mentions it to this day. It's 35 years ago. Yes.
Still mentions giving away the couch or mentions the couch in Happy Memories.
Giving away the couch.
Interesting. So
you need to give away the
interesting.
couch. No Happy Memories is, I don't even know what that couch is. No, I don't know. No, just the fact that he had to give it away. That imprinted a bigger memory on him than anything.
Interesting. I wonder if the next time he mentions the couch, if you ask him to tell you a story about the couch, if that would change something a little bit.
I'll do it.
Curious.
I'll report back. I'll see.
Yeah. Try it and see if you could be like, tell me a story about the couch. Because I'm trying to think back of like times in our life where a couch has been a thing. And not that I've never really had that kind of trouble getting rid of stuff. I definitely struggle with it too. Like just because I declutter does not mean it's easy, right? Like there's always tough parts. But like, I think we had a friend that had a couch. Like we just said, I don't know. I'm just trying to think of like where you think of the memory of the act and the things you were doing with it versus that last part of getting rid of it. And I think that's a big switch. So if you're struggling with that and you've given something away and you're sad about giving it away, if you think about when you enjoyed that thing or the things you were doing, I actually think it does make a difference. I'm just trying to think of the things that I remember. Like I always go back to, there's two things I remember getting rid of, and it was our snowboards. But at the time we lived in Chicago and we weren't planning on moving anywhere near mountains. And if you're familiar at all with Chicago, there's no mountains around to ski. There's no good ones anyway. So if you're going anywhere, you're hopping on a plane, you might as well just rent the equipment when you get there. But we have since moved and now we're back in San Diego. We go skiing every winter now or snowboarding. And I'm sad we don't have those. But it was decades, right? It was over a decade ago we sold those things. They probably wouldn't be in the best condition. I probably would want new ones anyway. So I'm just
Exactly.
working through those things. It's like you said, venting and walking through the process and like actually talking through it and being like, okay, it's okay. So
Yeah,
I'm
and
just
giving yourself
curious. Yeah.
self-compassion for it too. Acknowledge that this is
Right.
really hard and you're hurting a lot from having to give this away. Because
Yeah.
that's something I think that the shame, I call it the shame monster. The shame monster comes
Mm.
in so easily when we try to acknowledge our emotions and feelings. If we're ever mad, anger is something I struggle with. Like if I'm ever mad, immediately the shame monster pops up and is like, "Why are you mad? Like you have this great life. You shouldn't be mad. You shouldn't be angry. Why are you mad at your husband? He
Mm.
treats you really well. He's a great friend. Like just let it go." And that's the automatic voice that comes in. So just acknowledging that you're hurting, first of all, so that shame monster
Mm.
can't take root, especially with decluttering.
Oh, love that. All right, let's shift from decluttering with our parents to decluttering with our kids or
Yes.
ourselves. Okay, so how do we work through? We've talked like big emotions. We've talked about anger and shame and how and guilt, obviously. But how do we work through some of these things when we're dealing with stuff that's so personal, and especially when our kids have such attachment to stuff? I think it's so easy for us as parents to dismiss and be like, you've got so much stuff, or why is it so hard to get rid of that thing?
Mm.
How can we work through this?
And it's taken some time. Like my daughter is one of those people who is, I love this. I can't get rid of this. I help her initially make the decisions. And I have to say that by starting working with her when she was 8 or 7 and having her involved in the decluttering process and talking through things, she has gotten better doing it on her own. And the best example I can give of this is packing in a suitcase. Like we were just talking about like summer vacation, and last year we went to Europe. And when my family travels, we fit everything into carry-on suitcases because yes, everything into carry-on suitcases. And so we pack like pretty light and we go with the intention of, hey, we're going to have to do laundry on this trip, and that's totally okay. So she had laid out all of her clothes and they were like big piles of clothes because she's, what if I want this one? And what if I want this one? And what if I want this one? What if I want this one? And the way I went through it with her was to group things. Like she had 4 pairs of black shorts. And I'm like, okay, you have 4 pairs of this. So let's just do 1 pair and leave the rest behind so that you still get the black short, but you don't have to take every single one of them. And I went through that with her, through that process, wheedle it down and let her know like my thinking that went into it and how I justified it. Because when kids are given like this huge task with lots of emotions attached to it, the emotions are going to take over. And so they need to see how we think about things so that they're like, okay, this is a different way to think about it. Not saying that they're going to adopt it. Some things they're going to hang on to really hard, but seeing that there's different way to look at a situation, especially with decluttering and with stuff. You don't have to have every single item to bring with. You can have one and be totally okay.
Yeah. Interesting. And if anyone is interested, I actually did just do an episode on how we packed in carry-ons only for a
Oh
month
yeah.
in Europe. So go back 2 episodes or go back a few episodes and check that out. So yeah, absolutely. I am all on board with the carry-on only train. And I think it's a great test. It's a good experiment for
Uh-huh.
you to be able to live with less. So I love that idea of having this temporary test of like, pick the favorites, work with it. You get to test it out and try it on and have that maybe section, especially for kids that are highly emotional.
Yeah.
Our daughter too, it's hard for her to let go of things, and she knows where every rock, every stick, every treasure, every little thing has come from. Half of them are named. So, it's difficult sometimes to let go of those things. And I have just learned I'm the minimalist. She's not the minimalist,
Mm.
but she has her boundaries. And as long as she stays within those boundaries, right? Like you have this box for treasures. If that box gets full, you get to make the decision as to what you keep and what goes. but that's where they live, and
Mhm.
giving them some autonomy that way over that. Have you ever worked through, like, let's talk about more of the permanent side of getting rid of things, like when you actually declutter them from the house? Has there been any insights when you've been doing that with your daughter or your son as to what has helped, if there's something they had been attached to, or is it just a time thing where they outgrow it? How has that worked for you?
We always separate the memories from the stuff by taking pictures. So if it's something that like doesn't serve my daughter anymore, for instance, she was in dance for many years, and in dance you accumulate a lot of recital costumes, like so many. And they're just recital costumes in her closet, taking up like probably three-quarters of the closet. So she couldn't fit any more clothes in. And I was
Mm.
like, look, you had this great experience. Keep like one or two that mean a lot to you, but every one that you want to get rid of, we're just going to take a picture of it so that you can go through whenever you want and look at the pictures. And she agreed to that. And that's what she does now when she's getting rid of stuff. She'll just take a digital photo of it and get rid of it. My son, it works with him too. He will take his phone out when he's decluttering and he'll be like taking pictures of all the stuff he's getting rid of. And then he's okay getting rid of it because he has now that memory of the thing without having to add up the actual thing.
Yeah, I love that. I do. Yeah, we do the photo thing too. Also, with those recital outfits, I'm sure you have pictures of her
Uh-huh.
doing the dance, right? Or like actually performing in that recital outfit as well. So to
And
go
like
with
dance
those.
companies, they do actual photos in every
Oh,
single
right.
outfit. Every
Of
outfit.
course they
Like,
do. And you
I'm
paid a lot of money for those photos, I'm sure.
I'm really happy she's not in dance anymore. I just have to say that. Yes.
I can't sense that at all from
I know.
you through
Oh
the
my gosh.
screen.
I have so much more to say, but I will keep it on track.
We will stay on track. And just in case there are any other dance moms out there,
Yeah.
you do you. So let's see. But I was going to say, I also the idea of just keeping one, like you mentioned there, keep the one that means the most to you,
Mhm.
because it is surprising how even when you have one, all of those same feelings come back. You still
Uh-huh.
then remember all the other things that go along with that, right? So if you have a collection or you get something from a family member and you're like, but all my memories and everything, but it's your memory is still of that person. It's just the trigger, right? So if you can just keep one instead of 10, like you were saying, even with packing with the shorts or with the recital outfits, or we have like a piece of carnival glass. My grandfather had a big collection of carnival glass, and everybody in the family got one piece, right? So we each
Mhm.
have a piece, and it's a fun way to
Cool.
split that collection amongst the family. But I only have one, right? I don't have to have an entire curio cabinet of them all, and it
Yeah.
still has all the same memories, just with the one
Exactly.
piece.
And like just to or come back at me and make it my fault that I made them get rid of it. And totally that will happen. It will totally happen. My daughter does it all the time. She's, Mom, remember you made me get rid of all my dance costumes. And when that comes, I highly suggest the self-compassion again, just acknowledging that hurt. And then
Yeah.
my daughter's older now. I tell her that hurt. I'm like,
Mm.
hey, what I did there is you were having trouble fitting things in your closet and you had a room that was just filled with stuff. You had no idea where to find anything. And I suggested the process that I thought would help you have that room. I did the best I could. And when you keep mentioning it, it really it hurts. It makes me
Mm.
feel unappreciated in that moment, and I'll say that to her, and her being 15, she's, it was just a joke, Mom. I'm just joking.
Yeah.
I'm like, let's talk about that phrase now, shall we? Like,
Shall we talk about how jokes aren't necessarily jokes are jokes when everyone is laughing?
when everyone is laughing.
Yeah.
Yeah. We have a lot of conversations about emotions in my home. My kids know exactly like how I'm feeling, but I also make the distinction that they are not responsible for my feelings. I will let them know behaviors that trigger stuff in me. And then I'm like, but know that I am responsible for my feelings. I just want to let you know how that affects me when you say that.
Yeah.
Because I never want them to think that they control other people's feelings because people
That's
have their own baggage.
Yeah, because you can't. Yes, I love that distinction because you are not responsible for how other
No.
people react because you don't know, but you also need to go
No.
into it with kind words, right? We don't want to just throw out mean words and be like, "Yeah, I'm not, and it's not my fault. You feel bad about it." Obviously,
Exactly.
you're not doing that. But at the same time, right, it is not your responsibility for anybody else's happiness. You are
Mhm.
not in charge of anyone else's happiness.
Exactly.
That is fantastic. I think we have given people lots of tips, lots of advice. Where can people find out more about you?
So you can go to noguiltmom.com, and from there you could listen to our podcast. You can grab one of our like quick win things. Right now I have a list of chat GPT prompts which you could put in, and it'll make a family chore schedule for you. It'll meal plan for you. It'll make a grocery list for you. All of these things that are like on our list as moms typically, outsource it, have technology do it. And it's a really easy, like quick win that you can do today. So
Ooh,
noguiltmom.com is where everything lives. So go there.
love it. Okay, that is fantastic. And your Instagram has been on fire recently. If anybody is into Instagram, go check out JoAnn over there as well. She does not hold any punches. If you want a little snark in your life, head on over there.
Very
But I like
authentic.
to,
And I will
I
say
love
my
it. I
feelings
think
with
it's great.
empathy. But yeah.
But I like it. It's got an edge to it. And
Yes.
sometimes we need that in our life. So
Yeah.
definitely check it out. And then I like to end every interview with 3 rapid fire questions. So
Okay.
if you are ready, here they come. Number 1, what does clutter free mean to you?
It means that I have a space where I could feel calm in.
Love it.
Mhm.
Yes. Calm, breathe. Huh,
Calm,
so true.
breathe, not stressed out by my environment. Yeah.
I love that. All right. And number 2, what is making you happy right now or in this season of your life?
Oh, I am really into yin yoga right now. Like the yoga where you hold the stretches for 3 to 5 minutes. Because as I've gotten
Ooh.
older, and I'm like 42, but I feel stiff. I feel stiffer. And I find that not only is it relaxing, it actually helps my body move better. So I love it.
Ooh, I'm gonna have to check this out. I like
Yin.
it.
Yeah.
I'm a little bit older than you, and I went for a run on the beach yesterday, and I am definitely feeling it today. I'm like, huh,
Yeah.
this is so great.
Yin yoga, it's like sleeping yoga. I call it napping yoga because you hold a stretch and you're just like, you have to relax into it. And you actually feel like your muscles getting longer as you're in it for long.
All right, I'm gonna check that out. Yin yoga. All right,
Yin
and
yoga.
number 3, what is a goal you have for yourself this year?
Oh, I am big into growing my company right this year. I want to reach as many moms as possible to become no guilt moms and recognize how much guilt controls us as women and how much guilt controls like our emotions and our reactions to things. Because I know that once you get that recognized and know how to deal with it, women just become a force of power. And that's what I want to see.
I love it. Well, JoAnn, this has been fabulous. I wish you all the best with that goal because I would love to see women let go of their guilt and be more empowered in their lives as well. All the best to you. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Well, there certainly was a lot of laughing with today's episode. Even though I got a swift kick in the butt a little bit, it was what I needed to hear. And it is great to understand that we don't have to make the giant leaps from where we are right now to catastrophizing what may or may not happen. It is okay. There are going to be little steps along the way. And so we definitely need to make sure that we are communicating our own needs when it comes to our families too. But I would love to hear your thoughts on the episode. So please come on over and let me know. You can join the conversation on Facebook at the Wannabe Minimalist Family Group over there. That's our free private community, and you can come in and join to talk with other moms like you on this journey of decluttering and self exploration. And then also, you can come over to Instagram. I will be over there. There will be a post for this episode, so you can leave a comment over there if you'd like as well. And you can also leave a review on Apple Podcasts, comment on Spotify, or comment over on YouTube as well for these guest episodes. And of course, a special thanks to JoAnn for joining us today and sharing so much knowledge and tips and tricks. It was amazing. I really enjoyed it. And obviously, we had a lot of fun because we did laugh quite a bit. Remember, you can get those detailed show notes when you go to wannabeclutterfree.com/217. Again, that's wannabeclutterfree.com/217 to get more information about JoAnn and No Guilt Mom. And as always, thank you to you for joining me today. I couldn't do the show without you, so I appreciate that you are here. With that, I hope you have an amazing day and join me next week when I'll be talking with Risa Williams about procrastination. It is one of the things that I hear about all the time in the community because it's so easy to put off things like decluttering when we want to do other things. So definitely join us for that episode. Until next time, take care, keep things simple, make sure you're putting some priorities on yourself as well this week. And remember that I believe in you. I'm Deanna Yates, and you've been listening to Wannabe Clutter Free. I'll see you next week. Cheers.